Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Live. Just do you. I'm so excited to be on and talking about this topic today. It seems like it's gotten a lot of attention, and you guys are excited to hear about it too. So, I'm Dr. Shelley Nash. I'm an elite level mindset coach, and I help high achieving women to unlock their genius, 10x their income, and claim the success that they want and deserve. Welcome to Living Powerfully, where we do this live every single Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So just a couple announcements before we get started on the topic. Next week, Monday, June 7th, we start a 5-day free workshop called Mindset Mastery to Reach Riches. And it is exactly that, unlock your genius to 10x your income. So you want to make sure that you sign up for that. I'll put a link below when we're done, but you'll get a workbook, Mindset Mastery to Riches workbook, that will take you through the 5-day workshop plus the extra 4-day bonuses. So really excited for that. Make sure you sign up. It's really helping you to achieve a part of what we're talking about today. So I see you overall as needing to have self-mastery to get to the life that you want and deserve. A part of that is your mindset mastery. And mindset is so important in everything that we do, especially if we're seeking a goal and seeking to increase income. So make sure you sign up. It's not just about income. It's about all of your life and riches in all areas of your life. So make sure you look at the link, look at the information about the class and register, and then you'll be getting emails from me during the week, and towards the end of the week, you'll get your workbook to download, and it's very exciting. So that's the announcement about that. Make sure you say hi when you're watching and come on. When you click on the StreamYard button, it allows me to see who's here. And if you have any questions or comments, I know who I'm talking to. So thanks, I appreciate that. So without any further ado, this is a huge topic today, and I have a guest. You may see Marley Cat walking through, but so far she's quiet, so we like her to be quiet. So this is a huge topic today, and I realize it's almost way bigger than what I can handle in a half hour, but I'm going to give it my best. I'll just review what we're talking about. Just do you. And why is it that so many of us look outside for approval, for validation, for direction in our lives, rather than trusting our own selves? And so this really becomes a habit to look outside for help rather than to look inside. And that habit is not working for you. And that's really what I teach, is to help you to gain the habits and understanding of how to trust yourself to live from the inside out. And your life will go so much better when that happens. So our culture also sets us up for this, if you want to call it a fail, because that's how we're taught. We're taught to live from the outside in, and we're not taught how to be able to control our lives on our own from the inside out. So what happens to us is we bounce around from one opinion, one person to the next, trying to get answers without being able to make as I called it in the thing, an effing decision on our own. I don't know about you. If this sounds like you, not being able to make decisions, I had the most difficult time making decisions most of my life. I didn't really understand what that process was because I didn't understand myself. We'll talk a little bit more on that as we're going through today. So we're going to talk about being yourself and what it takes to just do you. There is that phrase of "you do you, babe, you do you." And I just love that because it is that exactly thing that we need to do. Just do you and allow everyone else to do themselves as well. So I love that phrase. So I've been studying something called Yourself from an author called Thomas Troward, who was around a long time ago. And I'm going to read to you this first part of what I've been studying. And then we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll end with some of the end of what I've been studying. It's called Yourself. So I want to talk to you about the livingness there is in being yourself. It has at least the merit of simplicity, for it must surely be easier to be oneself than to be something or somebody else. Yet that is what so many are constantly trying to do. The self that is their own is not good enough for them. And so they are always trying to go one better than what God has made them, with endless strain and struggle as the consequence. Does that sound like anybody? Sounds like how I used to live my life. Of course, they are right to find before them an ideal infinitely grander than anything they have yet attained. The only possible way of progress is by following an ideal that is always a stage ahead of us. But the mistake is in not seeing that its attainment is a matter of growth. And that growth must be expansion of something that already exists in us, and therefore implies our being what we are and where we are as its starting point. This growth is a continuous process, and we cannot do next month's growth without first doing this month's growth. But we are always wanting to jump into some ideal of the future, not seeing that we can reach it only by steadily going from where we are. That is a super big mouthful. One could study that section of that article for a year and get more and more and more out of it. And it's something we study in my coaching program as well. So let's kind of unpack that, or give you my interpretation of what he is saying. And a lot of his words are different because it's from Old English and it's from early 1900s. So sometimes we have to even look up words when we're studying from that author. So this is such a big topic. And I realized that it's really the cornerstone of my work. I started realizing this, like, what is my work about? I was asking myself, and I realized that everything we want really begins with the mastery of ourselves first. And so I created a coaching program called Self-Mastery to Riches Academy. And it's a year-long program that teaches self-awareness skills that were never taught growing up. And how to understand who you are and what you're here to do. So when you begin to start asking yourself these deep questions, it will you will start actually getting to the point where you're expanding and you're continually unfolding into the truth of who you are with everything that you do in your life. So my mentor, one of my mentors, I should say, Bob Proctor, always says that the most important thing when you're going for a goal, when you're going for the next step, you're going for that big thing that you want, is not just knowing what you want, but knowing where you are, like where you're starting from. And I always say, in addition to that, I believe that it's getting tapped in to the truth of who you are at the core of your being. So when you know who you are, like as your spiritual self, and you align your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions to that essence of who you are inside of yourself, then you are going to go out into the world with a force that will attract everything that you want. So let me just repeat that. So when you know who you are, your spiritual self, the core of who you are, the truth of who you are, and then you align yourself, your thoughts, feelings, and actions with that source of who you are, and you go out into the world, you will be in a certain vibration which will attract to you everything that you desire. So that's in essence what we're talking about here. And the fact that you are this life essence. You have life essence in you. It was the spark that was created when when the egg met the sperm, and it was like an explosion when that happened, and it's continuing to explode. Now you may have shut it down a little bit, so our goal is to open that up for you again, to get the fireworks going again. So you are the essence of life. You're pure and perfect. You are continually becoming. It's a process of unfolding who you are and really preventing yourself from stopping yourself to unfold, from holding yourself back, from believing the layers and layers of false truths, false beliefs, limiting beliefs that you might have picked up along the way, and to no longer let those control you. And also to shift your self-image from when you were growing up to from your conditioned self-image, which may not be the truth of who you really are, might be more in alignment with the people that you were around growing up. So you're changing. You want to change your self-image to become where you're going, not where you were. So as you continue this unfolding process, day by day, one day at a time, you are then tapping into this source, and it's like a fountain of energy that's available to you, which is something you've never felt before. And it's so strong you actually won't be able to turn it off. And I can tell you, I had this experience several years ago. And it kind of shocked me because I'd done personal development for so long, for nearly 40 years. And I was a few years ago, and I remember waking up one day and I said to myself, I am happy. I'm really joyful. I'm so excited for the day. And this was in stark contrast to how I used to wake up. I used to wake up angry or upset or depressed, or I used to wake up in a very low mood. In fact, it would start to bother me because I would think, well, is this something that was conditioned in me to wake up in this bad mood? And I started to believe that it was. But then one day I woke up and I started realizing every day I was waking up happy and excited and in a good mood. And I was pretty much in a good mood all the time. And so then I started to unpack what happened over the last several years. And really, it's been since studying with my mentor, Bob Proctor, that fountain of the essence of life I've tapped into that, but it wasn't like I tried to tap into it. It just happened. And then in retrospect, I could see what I had done in order to allow that to happen. And that's part of that happening is you can't force that essence of life to spurt up in you. It has to be allowed to happen. And you have to go through a process. And so what I've tried to identify is, what is that process and what did I go through to allow that to happen? And part of it really in that unfolding for myself was being authentic to myself. And I always thought I was a really authentic person because I would tell the truth. I didn't mind crying in front of other people if I was emotional. I was just really myself around other people. But I realized that I wasn't necessarily myself around myself, or that I was holding different parts of me back and not revealing the whole pieces of me, the parts of me that love fashion, the parts of me that had a fashion career before I became a chiropractor. I was not saying those whole truths about myself. So in holding those pieces of myself back, I was keeping that fountain of energy that was inside of me from bursting forth. So that was a little piece of it, my story of tapping into this source of energy that's all around us. It's inside of us, and we just need to uncover and tap into that. And so once you do, it really can't be turned off. You might not be aware of it at all the time, but it's like a light switch. As soon as you put your attention to that energy, that source again, you can turn it on. So, and getting to that place, as I said before, it cannot be forced. And that's one of the challenges. We have to allow that to be released and have the patience for our unfoldment. I said here, it is the seed of our soul. It is that seed when the sperm and the egg got together that ignited you, who you are. And it has been your mission to live that out. And sometimes just in our culture, it's been covered up. And it's been pushed down and it's been held back either by ourselves or other people. So our job and my job is to help you to unfold and release that and discover that for yourself. And it's just this piece of you that's awaiting your recognition. And if you abstain from straining and struggling to be something or someone you cannot be, that's a big part of it. So we tend to live from the outside in. As a society, that's what we're taught in our culture. We're connected to the outside world through our senses, through our sight, through our smell, taste, and hearing and touch. And we take things in from the outside world. We make decisions and judgments based on appearances. And then as soon as we get emotionally involved in any of those things from the outside world, basically we're sunk. Because we're allowing the outside world to control us. And here's something that I knew about before, but I heard it in a different way recently. So, when you get really excited about something, and you're just like over the top excited. Well, we have something called the law of rhythm and the law of polarity. So when you get over the top excited, you will have a natural backlash to that, which may be depression or a low feeling. So I always encourage people to be in more of an even emotion, which we call enthusiasm, which enthusiasm has the root of in theos, which is in God or in the spirit of God. So enthusiasm is more of an even emotion. But the other thing about being excited or depressed is when you're super excited, you're usually excited about something or something has happened in your outside world and you're excited about it. And so you're allowing the outside world to affect you and your emotions. And the same thing is true with depression. You're usually depressed about something that's outside of you. So you're allowing something from the outside world to affect you, and that's allowing the depression. So when you start learning how to live from the inside out, that's when you start to control yourself and your world and ultimately your future. So what does it mean to start living from the inside out? And in this way, you do you. Living from the inside out. It makes sense. It makes sense to us. We hear it. It's very common. We hear that now, but do we really know how to live from the inside out and what that means? And it's similar to, I used to hear, think to create, or you think what you think about comes about, or as you think, so you are. And I would hear those phrases and I would say they're true because they felt true and I knew them to be true in my core because it kind of vibrated. You always vibrate with the truth when you hear it. You hear it as true, but if you really ask yourself, do you really know how to think and create something? Like, how do you do that? And so that was the key to my understanding, was really understanding how does your thinking cause your results, and how can you take conscious control of your thinking to cause the results that you want. So in a similar way, how can you take control of yourself on the inside so that you can get the results that you want on the outside and in your life? Really, by doing yourself, by being you. So here's some of the things that I just jotted down this morning about living from the inside out, which is one, to learn to guard your mind. I talked about previously how once you get emotionally involved with an idea you've heard from the outside world, you're sunk. So you have to learn to guard your mind, and you have actually the ability in your conscious mind to either accept ideas from the outside world or reject them. So you have to start learning to reject ideas that you don't believe or don't want to believe or don't want to take into your life. So you have to really learn to start guarding your mind. and asking yourself, if I get emotionally involved with this idea, is it going to serve me? Another thing is to understand who you are and how you work or how you function in the world. We often hear this phrase, the mind-body connection, or the body-mind connection. And again, this was something I studied for 30 years. Come to realize I didn't really understand it until I learned from my mentor, Bob Proctor, who he learned from a chiropractor, which was kind of interesting. But it came full circle for me. And so that's one of the things I teach my clients too, is really how to understand your body-mind connection and how to get what you want based on what you're thinking and what you're feeling and how you're acting. And what is this body-mind connection and mind-body connection? So understanding who you are and how you work in the world, and then aligning yourself within yourself. What does that mean? Aligning yourself within yourself. And then also what I say, aligning yourself and then aligning to your source, your spiritual connection, your spiritual self. So you're aligning what your thoughts, what you're thinking about, how you're feeling, and your behaviors. And when all of those are aligned, and we call that your attitude, actually, when they're all aligned and you're aligned with your spiritual source, then you're really connected to who you are and your work in the world. So you want to be able to make decisions on your own. I touched on that a little bit earlier. And how you can do that so much easier is when you know who you are and you know where you're going. You know instantaneously if something fits or if it doesn't fit. So you have to be able to trust yourself in knowing it fits or it doesn't fit. It's a yes or a no. So decisions become very easy when you know who you are and you know where you're going. You also want to be able to seek wise counsel. Wise counsel. When you seek wise counsel, you seek out someone who really understands what we call the paradigm. The paradigm is a multitude of habits held in your subconscious mind. We also refer to it as programming or conditioning, like your computer is programmed to run a certain way, and it won't change how it runs until you change the programming or update it. And that's the same as you. You are programmed to run a certain way, and unless you change your programming or update it, you're going to run off that programming for the rest of your life. So when you ask someone their opinion of something, then you're also, what you're getting from them is their conditioning, their programming, their habitual thought process, which we call a paradigm. So you want to make sure when you seek counsel on anything that you seek counsel with someone that understands our conditioning and our programming, because all of us have a paradigm, all of us have programming, and we need to understand that we have it and everyone around us has it. And it makes it easier to understand people sometimes, because we can understand someone is just acting out of habitual pattern rather than, and maybe responding in a certain way that isn't helpful to a situation. Better when we can understand, that's just the way they're conditioned to respond. They're not necessarily thinking of it in a new way. And so it helps us to be able to interact with people in a much better way. So when you're asking for help, though, you want to make sure that you are talking to people that understand that they have a paradigm, that you have a paradigm, that they are as clear as possible. Tend to get, when you seek wise counsel, you can even seek counsel with people that are no longer here that were wise people, say like Napoleon Hill, or even people that are still alive that you would want to seek advice from. You can do it in your imagination, and you can ask them questions on what would they do in that situation. So many different ways to get the counsel that you need. But ultimately, it is to learn to trust yourself. And in that trusting of yourself, you have to also understand that you have paradigms, you have programming. And so that's why I always say have a coach and a mentor, because sometimes we're not aware of our programming, our paradigm that is telling us to not do something or that we can't do something. And so we can stop ourselves through our own conditioned responses. So that's a process that you learn how to understand your conditioned responses. And maybe after I say the next thing, it'll make sense to you. So comparing yourself to others can lead you down a very slippery slope, can be really, really destructive to your health. And this happens really easily with our social media the way we have it today. When you compare yourself to others, you can go into envy, jealousy, and many other false truths about yourself. And these false truths might be things like, if you're comparing yourself to someone else, say someone else that's more successful or appears to be more successful or has just had a success, you can hear this almost in the back of your mind. What's wrong with me? Who do I think I am to even go for my goals? Because they're so much better than me. They must have something that I don't have. There must be something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'll never do it. So this constant barrage of negative thoughts going through the back of your mind, self-criticism or whatever they are, they're probably happening even with you not being aware of it right now. And that's one of the things we do with study, is we try to bring things up to our awareness so that we can then evaluate and keep and get rid of things that aren't working. So these thoughts that have, say you're scrolling through social media, these thoughts that I just mentioned, these previous thoughts, can come up in an instant. They are almost neurologically wired. In fact, I do believe they are pretty much neurologically wired. You're neurologically wired to think in these certain ways. And so when you're scrolling through social media, it can happen in an instant. And before you know it, you're spiraling down this negative path, comparing yourself to not probably just one person, but to several people. And you can get off social media and be depressed, and not even know why or what happened. And so this is something that you really need to understand. And it's only through certain key things that I teach through my mentors that helps you really understand it. And I guess I say that too because I've studied personal development for 40 years and studied with a lot of the top mentors in the world, and never learned the keys, the missing links to how it all works until over the last 5 years. So it's all been good what I've learned, but I finally learned the missing links, kind of the secret to how it all works. And it works much better when you have the secret, when you have the key, just like a door, you can't get through it if you don't have the key. So many of these patterns might be familiar to you if you're familiar with codependency. And codependency patterns can be changed. So if that is some of the patterns that you've been in, comparing yourself to others, thinking, needing to make decisions, not being able to make a decision on your own, then we can definitely change those patterns. You don't have to live your life out of those patterns anymore, because when you learn to understand yourself and your mind, you will be able to shift those, and I can help you do that. So I want you to understand that you are not on anyone else's path. You are on your path. It's your journey. And you want to, in order to do you need to stay on your own path. So I'm going to read you the last section of this article called Yourself, and then we're going to wrap it up. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. So this last section, it talks about your path. And he says, we have never been out of our right path, only we've been walking in it backwards instead of forwards. And now that we have begun to follow the path in the right direction, we find that it is none other than the way of peace, the path of joy, and the road to eternal life. These things we may attain by simply living naturally with ourselves. It is because we are trying to be or do something which is not natural to us that we experience weariness and labor, where we should find all of our activities joyously concentrated on objects which lead to their own accomplishment by the force of love that we have for them. But when we have the grand discovery of how to live naturally, we shall find it to be all and more than all that we have ever desired, and our daily life will become a perpetual joy to ourselves, and we will radiate light and life wherever we go. So basically, he's giving you promises of how this works, the gifts of doing you. And so I wanted to just reiterate those gifts of being you, doing you, just you, are that you will feel more joy from your heart. You'll tap into this happiness, love, compassion, fulfillment, passion for life. And you all roads, all kinds of roads will open up to you. Your life, you'll actually kind of move to a different level of vibration that you don't even know about right now, because as that essence, that joy, the energy moves inside of you, you will experience more enjoyment, more beauty, more happiness, and you'll be able to spread joy into the world from your heart. You'll be the light and love and spreading joy into the world. And every day just becomes a joy of expansion and growth. So in a little bit of a recap, so just do you. Just doing you is really learning to understand yourself at the core of who you are, really allowing the process of unfolding and growth to happen, and not trying to do more than what you can do today. Being in today, just do every day the best you can do, and focus on doing a little better tomorrow and a little bit better tomorrow. You, of course, want to have a goal of what you're shooting for, of what you're going for. I always tell people, put the blinders on from social media, from the news stations, in particular, people that maybe are in your same business that you're doing, that are a little bit farther along in their path. It seems like they're, quote, doing better than you are. They're not. They're just doing them. And they're probably not focused on you. So you want to keep your blinders on. Just do one day at a time. Don't force it. Allow it to happen. And when you do, eventually you're going to wake up one day and wonder what happened, just like I did. And you're going to feel this energy, this joy, this excitement for your life just bubbling up. And it's kind of like when they go down and drill in the earth for water. And when they tap into that vein of water and the geyser shoots up to the sky and that fountain is overflowing, that's what it feels like inside of you when you tap into that energy that is you, that energy that is you, tapped into the energy of the universal forces, and it's all becomes one. And so that energy is flowing evenly through you. So then whatever you set your mind to, whatever you focus on, what you want to magnetize to you or manifest to you, becomes a part of that energy flow. So as you are going for your goals are actually coming to you because you're staying in alignment with you and your source and the energy of the universe. So I hope that made sense. I hope you loved this talk today. I'll see you on the Mindset Mastery to Riches workshop next week, Monday, June 7th through the 11th. I'll put the link below. If you want to have a consult with me and talk more about how to just do you, maybe Self Mastery to Riches Academy is for you, and you want to get on there and start working in this process with me to help unfolding the truth of who you are and really getting the life that you want and deserve. So thanks for being here. We'll see you later in the week, and I will see you for sure on Monday for Mindset Mastery to Riches. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.